Good afternoon and welcome. In day two of this 3 days online faculty development program on renewable energy a future prospectus organized by Department of Mechanical Engineering of Maratha Vidya Prasarana Samajas, Dharmavir Advocate Baburao Ganpatrao Thakre, College of Engineering, Nasik. On behalf of Mechanical Engineering Department, I give a heartiest welcome to today's speaker, Dr. Naveen Srivastav. Dr. Srivastav is working as an assistant professor in Mechanical Engineering Department of Birla Institute of Technology and Science, BITS Pilani, Dubai campus. Sir has completed his MTech and PhD in Mechanical Engineering from NIT Nagpur. Also, he has worked as a postdoctoral fellow between December 2015 to November 2016 at Georgia Institute of Technology, Atlanta, USA. Dr. Naveen has 11 national and international publications on his credit, and he has written some book chapters in the book titled Direct Methanol Fuel Cell Technology in 2020 in Elsewhere publication. Sir has also published several papers in national and international journals and conferences. So, once again, on behalf of Mechanical Engineering Department, I welcome today's speaker, Dr. Naveen Srivastav, and I kindly request him to start his session on Introduction to Fuel Cell. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir, for the nice introduction, and thank you everyone for having me. So I will start the my session here, and if you have any question, any doubt, so you can interrupt me and you can ask immediately. All right. So let me start the presentation. So am I audible, right?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Uh, okay. Okay, fine. So let me share the screen first. Okay, so is the screen visible now? Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
sir.
Okay, that's fine. All right. So the title for
Only,
today's session is the
sir,
hello.
you can hide that message is coming. You can hide that.
Yeah, because I think I am not able to see the messages. I think.
Okay, hide. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, fine. So the session is on introduction to fuel cell. So I'm Naveen Srivastav, assistant professor in BITS Pilani, Dubai. So as just a brief introduction about the BITS Pilani Dubai campus. So as you know, the BITS Pilani University has 4 campuses, 3 in India, which are the Pilani, the main campus in Pilani itself. Then one is in Goa, one is in Hyderabad, and the one international campus is in Dubai. So the Dubai campus offers the BE program, ME program, as well as PhD program in all major engineering disciplines, including mechanical engineering, electrical and electronics, then computer science, civil engineering, chemical engineering, as well as biotechnology. Okay, so that's about the discipline Dubai campus. Now, the moving to the concept of fuel cell. So let me first describe the very general concept. Like what is the fuel cell, and you know. So the fuel cell actually is a device which converts the chemical energy of fuel into the electricity. Okay, so we can see this is the device as a fuel. The mostly used is the hydrogen. Okay, and the oxygen is also used as oxidant. So you can assume that the hydrogen and oxygen are entering this device, which is known as fuel cell, and what you are going to get is the first is the electricity, the main desired product, and then the water, which will be the byproduct or which will be generated because of the electrochemical reactions happening in the fuel cell, right? So the input is hydrogen and oxygen, and what you're getting is the electricity as well as the water. Right? So this is about the fuel cell. Now there are several similar devices. Okay, for example, we have the engine, we have batteries, we have supercapacitors. So these are the devices which you can put in the same category as a fuel cell. So that we'll see what is the difference, what is the similarity later on in the presentation. So if you look at a very simple fuel cell, actually the William Grove, he was the inventor of the fuel cell. So if you look at the very basic fuel cell, so the working principle of a fuel cell is exactly opposite of electrolyzer. Okay, so I hope you have heard about the electrolyzer. So the electrolyzer, is a device where you can split the H2O into hydrogen and oxygen by supplying the external electricity. Okay, so in an electrolyzer, you will be supplying electricity and you will be getting oxygen as well as hydrogen from the water. All right, so it means you're investing the external energy for splitting, for breaking the bond between the hydrogen and the oxygen into the water, and you're getting hydrogen oxygen. Now the fuel cell is exactly opposite. Okay, what happens in a fuel cell? We supply hydrogen and oxygen and we get the electricity. Now if you look at the device here, so here you can see the electrodes. Okay, so you can see there are two rods, okay, mostly made of, let's say, platinum. Okay, so this is one and this is the second. So these are two rods. Alternatively, you can call them electrode as well. So there are two electrodes and they are dipped into the H2SO4 solution. Okay. Now this H2SO4 acts as an electrolyte. What is the function of electrolyte is that it actually allows transport of protons or the hydrogen ions only, okay, and restricts the flow of electrons. Okay, so through H2SO4 only hydrogen can transport and the electrons won't be able to go through this electrolyte. On the other hand, this the platinum electrodes acts as the catalyst, okay, which promotes the electrochemical reaction. Now what happens is, let's say you're supplying hydrogen gas on one electrode here, okay, through some, let's say you can see the hydrogen gas is bubbling up and the oxygen on the other electrode, right? So what happens is this hydrogen electrode. Now if you look at the anode electrochemical reaction, the hydrogen is, because of the catalyst, the platinum catalyst, this will break down into proton as well as electron. Right? So now here you will have, on this electrode, you will have the proton as well as electron. Now the proton will pass through this H2SO4, but not electron, right? Because the electrolyte is only supposed to transport proton, not electron. So proton will pass through this electrolyte and reach at the second at this other in the electrode. Now this electron, which is here right now, will, because now you have connected this with some external circuit, let's say some metal wire, right? This is some metal wire. So electron will, because this is conductive to electron, so the electron will pass through this conductive circuit through the metal wire and will also reach to the other side, okay, to the other the electrode. Now on the other electrode, now you have electron as well as proton, and you are supplying oxygen, right? Now if you look at the other electrochemical reaction, which is cathode electrochemical reaction, so you can see the oxygen is getting reacted with proton and the electron and generating H2O, right? So what is happening here is you're supplying hydrogen and oxygen, and because you are getting the flow of electron, and the flow of electron is nothing but is the electricity, right? So what you're getting is the electricity and the water as byproduct, right? So now if you look at the complete reaction, so complete reaction will be, you just simply add up these two reactions, okay? So the complete reaction would be hydrogen plus oxygen is the water plus electricity, all right? So this is the simplest fuel cell. Probably the inventor of the fuel cell, William Grove, had experimented using this setup. Okay, but right now the design and the shape of the fuel cell is very much different from what I have shown here. Okay, but remember this basic concepts. You have to remember the anode reaction, cathode reaction. Okay, so on one electrode, the hydrogen is getting splitted into proton and electron. Proton is getting transported through the electrolyte, which is H2SO4 right now, and the electron pass through the external circuit, and both of them, they reach to the other electrode where they react with oxygen and generates water. All right. Okay. So there are throughout this session you have to remember few things. One is the electrolyte. What is the function of electrolyte? So that's to conduct proton and to restrict electron. Okay. And what is the electrode? So electrode is a material mostly made of platinum, which provides the surface or the area for the reaction to happen. Okay. So that's the catalyst. All right. Now, as I told you that the fuel cell is, I mean, we can name some similar devices like heat engine or simply the engine. So what are the similarities and what are the differences between the fuel cell and the heat engine? So similarity is both are the energy conversion devices, right? Your heat engine also converts the chemical energy of fuel into the mechanical energy. Okay. Now let's say if you want to generate electricity using your heat engine, so you have to attach a generator, right? So if you attach a generator into the engine on the same shaft, you'll get electricity. All right. So heat engine is also the energy converter, okay, where you convert the chemical energy of fuel, and the mostly used fuel in the heat engine is gasoline, okay, or the diesel. On the other hand, the fuel cell is also the energy converter device, but in the case of fuel cell, you don't need to attach any generator, but you can convert the chemical energy of fuel directly into the electrical energy. Right? So the similarities, both are energy conversion devices. What is the difference? So the main difference is, if you want to convert this chemical energy in fuel into the electrical energy, so there will be 3 intermediate steps. First, the chemical energy will be converted into the heat energy because you're burning fuel. So via combustion, this chemical energy will convert into heat energy. Then, because the construction of the mechanical engine, so then because of that construction, the piston cylinder arrangement, this heat energy will be converted into mechanical energy, and you will be getting a rotating shaft, right? Which is nothing but is the representation of the mechanical energy. Then, if you will if you will attach a generator here, then you will get the mechanical energy converted into the electrical energy. All right. Now, if you look at the fuel cell here, if you want to get electrical energy, there is only one step. Okay, where the chemical energy of fuel with the device of fuel cell will be directly converted into electrical energy. All right. So, if you look at the advantage, so because the fuel cell is having less intermediate steps, so obviously this is supposed to have higher efficiency. Okay. Normally in the fuel cell, you won't be seeing any moving parts. All right. Like in the heat engine, you have a lot of moving parts, so there will be mechanical wear and tear. But in case of fuel cell, there's no moving part. Okay. So mostly it's a long-lasting system. No mechanical, the wear and tear. And so it's having silent operation as well. Most importantly, this is eco-friendly as well, because there won't be any NOx emission or the SOx emission, which is the cause of concern in case of heat engines. Okay, in case of fuel cell, what you're getting is the electricity and water as a byproduct. Okay, there is no NOx or SOx emission. All right, so these are some of the silent features of the fuel cell as compared to the heat engine. Now, if we compare the fuel cell with a battery, so if you look at the difference, if you look at the battery is not an energy generator. Okay, mostly we look at the battery as an energy storage. Okay, so what happens in a battery, if it is a secondary battery or the rechargeable battery? So what happens is we supply the electricity to the battery, and then the battery stores the electrical energy into the chemical form. Okay, and when we require it, that chemical energy stored in the battery is again converted into the electrical energy. Okay, so we look at the battery as a energy storage rather than the energy converting system. Okay, And the fuel cell clearly is an energy converting system, because you're supplying fuel, you're supplying hydrogen and oxygen as a fuel and oxidizer, and which is converting these chemical energy of fuel into the electricity. So the fuel cell is, you know, more close to the engine, okay, as compared to the battery, all right? So if you look at actually fuel cell, how does it look? So on your right hand side, you can see this is a single cell, okay, a single fuel cell, and on the left hand side you'll see a fuel cell stack. Okay, so what is a fuel cell stack? So the fuel cell stack is the combination or the arrangements of several single cell. Okay, now why do we need these stacks? So the reason is a single cell can produce a certain amount of voltage and current. Now let's say for any application, for example, let's take your laptop. Now let's say for your laptop, if you want to design a fuel cell. So in general, the configuration of your laptop, the power requirement of your laptop would be, let's say, for example, 3 ampere current and 6 volt of the voltage. Now a single cell can produce, let's say, 1 volt and 3 amps. So obviously you have to connect approximately 6 single cell in series. Okay, so what you are getting is the 6 single cell in series. So that arrangement is known as stack. Okay, so the stack is nothing but stack is a fuel cell arrangement targeted for a certain application. Okay, so that's the fuel cell stack. Now, if you look at the brief history of the fuel cell, so as I mentioned, in around 1839, the William Grove, he first invented the gas battery, which was later known as the fuel cell, while he was experimenting on the electrolysis process. Okay. Then the major breakthrough came when in 1960 the NASA, okay, the National Space Agency of USA, they used fuel cell in their space mission, okay, in the Apollo aircraft. So that was the major breakthrough. Then after that, the various companies and the different organizations, they saw fuel cell as the very potential power source, and they started research on this. And with time, okay, they came across, they developed the fuel cell for different applications, for automotive application, for portable application, for stationary application. Okay, so right now there are a lot of products are there in the market. Right, so that's the brief history. So as I mentioned earlier, when you see fuel cell, always remember what is happening inside the fuel cell is the exactly opposite what happens in the electrolysis process. All right. Okay. So now let's look at the how the fuel cell, the construction of the fuel cell, the latest construction of the fuel cell. Okay. I showed you the basic construction, the very basic fuel cell. Now nowadays fuel cell, how it looks like. Okay. So you can see here the the cross-sectional view of the fuel cell. But remember, the basics are still same. Okay, you'll still see the same the anode electrochemical reaction and the same cathode electrochemical reaction. Now the components are different now. Okay, the structure is different. So now if you look at the structure, so let me first name these structures. So you can see there are the 7 main components written here. One is the anode bipolar plate, then the anode gas diffusion layer, the anode catalyst layer, the electrolyte, the cathode catalyst layer, the gas diffusion layer, and the anode bipolar plate. So let me start with this electrolyte, okay, which is here, which is shown with this blue one. Okay, this fourth component. Component number 4 is the electrolyte. So as I mentioned in the basic fuel cell, the purpose of the electrolyte is to separate anode and cathode, and this is the substance which provides the transport of proton, okay, not of the electron, not of the electron. So the purpose is still same. However, now the structure is different. In earlier days, the electrolyte used was H2SO4 solution. Nowadays, the electrolyte material that we have is a thin film, okay, which is an Nafion film. Okay, so now you can see this electrolyte as a thin film. okay, or which looks like a polythene. Okay. Now next to it, you can see component number 3 and component number 5, okay, and which are both catalyst layer. Now, on the left hand side of this electrolyte, this is the anode structure. Okay, so this electrolyte is actually separating anode and cathode. Okay, so on the left hand side is entirely is the anode, on the right hand side entirely is the cathode. Okay, and the electrolyte is right in the middle. Now you'll see the structure is very symmetric. Okay, you can see the 3 and 5 are almost the same component. Okay, both are catalyst layer. One is on the anode side, one is on the cathode side. Now the original construction was the platinum rod, right, which acted as the catalyst. Now here nowadays fuel cell, they have catalyst as nanoparticles, same platinum, but not in a form of rod, but in form of nanoparticles. Okay, so this layer number 3 and layer number 5 are nothing but are the platinum nanoparticles, which acts as the catalyst. Okay, then these number 2 and number 6, these are the diffusion layer. Okay, gas diffusion layer. So the purpose of this diffusion layer is to support this catalyst. Okay, support this catalyst layer, number 3 and number 5. Okay, so this number 2, number 6, they are going to support this 3 and 5. Okay, because you need a substrate to coat the nanoparticles. Okay, so that substrate is number 2 and number 6. And then number 1 and number 7 is the bipolar plate. Okay, so the bipolar plate is normally they have the flow channels through which you flow the hydrogen in. Okay, where some of the hydrogen will react and the remaining hydrogen will go out. Okay, so the this bipolar plate will be on both the sides. Okay, so number 1 and number 7. Now the working construction is different now, but the working is exactly same. Okay, the fundamental working principle is exactly same. Now what happens is you supply hydrogen on this anode side, and through these channels, okay, the hydrogen flows through these channels, and this hydrogen diffuses through the diffusion layer and reaches at the catalyst. Okay, and because of the presence of the catalyst, this hydrogen will break down into hydrogen, the hydrogen ion, which is proton, and the electron. Okay, now this proton will pass through this electrolyte, while the electron will go back, okay, and will take root of the external circuit and will reach at the cathode side, where you have proton. Now the electron is reached, and you're supplying oxygen. Okay, through this you're supplying oxygen. So oxygen also diffuse through this and will reach catalyst layer. Now on the cathode catalyst layer, this reaction will take place. The oxygen plus proton plus electron will generate water. All right, so the fundamental sense, still you're supplying hydrogen and oxygen, you're getting electricity and water. Okay, but the construction is different. And why the construction is different? So that I will tell you just in a couple of minutes. So now if you look at the more detailed view of the fuel cell, so this one is the bipolar plate that I initially spoke about. So you can see these are the channels. Okay, in this bipolar plate, okay, these are the channels over here. All right, and this one is the electrolyte, the polymer electrolyte membrane. Okay, which looks like just a film. Okay, a transparent film. This black one is the diffusion layer. Okay, and between this membrane and the diffusion layer, there is a catalyst layer which is not visible in this. Okay, because that is behind the diffusion layer. So you can see the exploded view here, right? So this one is the membrane electrode assembly. Okay, the diffusion layer, and then you can see the channels, the bipolar plates. Okay, and the end plate. So this is the construction of a fuel cell. All right. So I just want to discuss few more basic things like, as you know, what is the oxidation process and what is the reduction process. So we know that the oxidation is a process where the electrons are removed from any species, and reduction is exactly opposite. Okay, so in the reduction reaction, the electrons are added to any species. Now, if you look at these two reactions here, where the hydrogen is breaking down into proton and electron. So because the electron is removed in this reaction, so this is the oxidation reaction. Okay, so we call it hydrogen oxidation reaction. Whereas here on the other side, you are supplying hydrogen, oxygen, which is reacting with proton and electrons and generating H2O, right? So because the electron is added into the species, so this is known as the oxygen reduction reaction, all right? Now, based on these two reactions, we can identify which one is anode and which one is cathode. So anode, by conventional definition, anode is known as where the oxidation reaction takes place, and cathode where the reduction reaction takes place. So in case of fuel cell, the location where you're supplying hydrogen, that's the anode, and the location where you're supplying oxygen, that's the cathode. So if I'll go back to the slide, right? So you're supplying hydrogen on this side. So this side is the anode, and because you're supplying oxygen on this side, so this side is cathode. All right. Now the question is, which one is positive and which one is negative? Okay, so remember that in conventional battery, the anode is positive and cathode is negative, right? But in case of fuel cell, this is exactly opposite. Okay? In case of fuel cell, the anode is negatively charged electrode and the cathode is positively charged electrode. So how do we know that? So we know that because we know that the electrons flow from negative side to positive side, right? Because the electrons are negatively charged particle, so they will be attracted towards the positive side, isn't it? So here in this fuel cell, because the electrons are generated onto the anode and they are flowing towards cathode, so the cathode is supposed to be positive, right? So remember this is a very important difference, that in case of fuel cell, anode is negative side and the cathode is positive side. Okay, whereas in case of conventional batteries, the anode is positive and the cathode is negative. All right. Any doubts so far or any question? Hello.
No, sir.
Yeah. Any doubt or shall I go ahead?
Sir, no questions. You can go ahead.
Okay. All right. So now if you compare the the very fundamental structure of the fuel cell, which was invented by William Group, and the present construction. So what is the fundamental difference between these two? Okay, so remember there is a term known as three-phase boundary. Okay, so what is three-phase boundary? So three-phase boundary is a location where the catalyst, electrolyte, and the fuel met. Okay, so you should have a location where catalyst, which is mostly platinum, electrolyte, and fuel. These three will meet. That particular location is known as three-phase boundary. Now, why the three-phase boundary is important? The three-phase boundary is important because the electrochemical reaction, that hydrogen reduction reaction, the hydrogen oxidation reaction and oxygen reduction reaction, these reactions will take place only at the three-phase boundary. Okay. Now, so if you want to generate more number of electrons, so that will be possible only if you have more number of electrochemical reactions, which requires more number of three-phase boundaries. Okay, so if you want to produce higher number of current, higher amount of current, so that will be possible only if you are having the high number of three-phase boundary, right? Now, if you look at the conventional construction, the old construction, so where will be three-phase boundary here in this construction? The three-phase boundary will be only at the small ring. Okay, you can see this is platinum rod, and this is the electrolyte, and this is the fuel. So only at the small ring, the three-phase boundary will be there. Here also, this is the small ring, the three-phase boundary will be there. So the electrochemical reaction will take place only in this small region, only at this interface. Now here, in this present construction, because the catalyst is made of nanoparticles. Okay, so you'll see the three-phase boundary all around this porous surface. Okay, this is a porous structure. So you'll see the three-phase boundary all along this porous surface. Okay, so the main difference between this conventional structure and the present structure is that the number of three-phase boundary, the present structure is designed in such a way that it should have a high number of three-phase boundaries. Okay, so that a small device will produce a large amount of current or ultimately the large amount of power. All right. Okay. So the fuel cell stack, as I already mentioned, the fuel cell stack is the combination or arrangement of number of fuel cells targeted for a certain application. Okay, so you can see in the fuel cell stack, so this is one cell, second cell, third, three cell. Okay, and you have more number of cells, so on. Okay, so that's the fuel cell stack. All right, so I told you about the certain advantages of the fuel cell, and the most important is there's no pollutant and the higher efficiency. Okay, so these are the major advantage of the fuel cell. That's why the fuel cell is very attractive option. Okay, for major the power sources. But there are certain disadvantages associated right now with the fuel cell. So you can see in the slide there are four the major disadvantages. The first one is the cost. Okay, the cost of fuel cell is very high. So what's the reason? The reason is because I told you the catalyst used in the fuel cell is the platinum. Okay, the platinum is very expensive. So however, due to the tremendous amount of research, the amount of platinum needed for producing a certain amount of energy has gone decreased to a large extent, but still we need a sufficient, a good amount of platinum, and that's why the cost of fuel cell is very high. The second one is the fuel availability and storage. So as you know, the fuel used in the fuel cell is the hydrogen, and hydrogen is something which is available in the atmosphere, but you cannot extract it from there. So you have to produce hydrogen from any fuel. Okay, so let's say, and there are different methods of producing hydrogen. I won't go into that detail. And then the storage. Now, storing hydrogen is a big issue and is a major research area. Okay, now if you look at this, the chart on the right hand side, which compares the energy density of different fuel. Okay, so remember the x-axis is the volumetric energy density. Okay, and the y-axis is the gravimetric energy density. Okay, so the volumetric energy density, what is volumetric energy density? Is the amount of energy, or the amount of chemical energy stored in a fuel in 1 liter of the fuel. And the gravimetric energy density is the amount of chemical energy stored in the fuel in 1 kg of the fuel. Okay, so if you look at the unit here, this is megajoule per liter, the volumetric energy density, and the gravimetric energy density is megajoule per kg. Now if you look at the hydrogen, so hydrogen is here, because hydrogen is a gas, so you can compress it, okay, at different pressure. So you compress it more, and it will be more condensed. Okay, so if you look at the hydrogen here, so at the hydrogen here is at two different pressure. One is 3,500 psi, it's 7,500 psi. So in comparison with gasoline, ethanol, which are the liquid fuels, methanol, the hydrogen is the volumetric energy density as well as the gravimetric energy density is very low. Okay, and that's the major issue. So the bottom line of this discussion is that, so you need a big storage. If you want to use hydrogen for fuel cell, for storing the hydrogen, you need a big storage. Okay, and that ultimately increases the size of the overall system. So there are a lot of research going on to how to store hydrogen efficiently, and it's a big research area, a completely different research area. Okay, there are a lot of research going on. People are trying to make the hydrogen more the compatible compared to the gasoline and all. Okay, now the third disadvantage here is the durability. So in very basic language, I can say that the lifetime of the fuel cell is low compared to the conventional engine or even compared to the conventional batteries. So what is the reason? The reason is most of it component, be it catalyst, be it electrolyte, they are corroded very rapidly throughout the operation. Okay, so when you're operating the fuel cell, the catalyst and membranes they get corroded, very quickly, and that's why the lifetime of the fuel cell is right now is comparatively low in comparison with the IC engine or the battery. However, there are tremendous amount of research going on. Okay, and you will see that gap. Okay, that gap of the lifetime is continuously decreasing. Okay, so now you will see the durability of fuel cell is improving. That's because of the lot of research which is going on right now. Okay, and this one, the last one is the low volumetric power density as compared to battery and the combustion engine. Okay. Now, if you look at the chart over here, so you will see this is again the volumetric power density and gravimetric power density for different devices. So you can see the fuel cell over here. This is your IC engine. Okay, for automotive application, gas engine is here. This is the lithium-ion battery. So we'll see the fuel cell, however, is having high gravimetric energy density but low volumetric power density compared to the IC engine and battery. Okay, so what does this mean? So this means that let's say for a same application, let's say if you want to develop a car and you want to power it with three different devices. One is, let's say, IC engine, one is battery, and one is fuel cell. So the size of fuel cell will be very high. The fuel cell will be very big compared to the IC engine, okay, because its volumetric power density is less. However, the gravimetric power density is very high. So it means the fuel cell will be lighter, however, as compared to IC engine and the battery, the fuel cell will be lighter. Okay, so still there are a lot of research going on to just bridge this gap which is there. So maybe in the next 10-12 years we'll see the fuel cell is completely overtaking the IC engine. That's also possible. Okay, now I'll move to the applications. So what are the applications of the fuel cell? So being a very prominent power source, you can use fuel cell for powering a number of devices, be it automotive application, for portable application, or even for the stationary application, non-grid stationary application. Okay, so we'll go one by one. Let's say the automotive application. Okay. So in fact, there are a lot of the commercial products available. For example, the cars. Okay, so we have different models of cars which are available commercially in the market. Okay, maybe not in India, but if you look at the USA, Germany, even in the UAE, so these cars are available. Okay, in the market. So let's say we have the Mercedes-Benz GLC F-Cell, the Honda Clarity is there, Toyota Mirai is there. Okay, so these are the cars which run on the fuel cell, completely on the fuel cell. Okay, so maybe I can show you just one of it for the demo. So this one, the Mercedes-Benz. Okay, similarly, you'll see the Honda Clarity. Okay, maybe I'll show you this one, the Toyota Mirai. Okay, then in the portable electronic devices also, right? So you can see this USB charger. Okay, now let's say for the mobile, if you want to recharge your mobile, normally we use a power bank. Okay, which is also a battery, lithium-ion battery. Now, if you look at this product, which is the a power bank which runs on the fuel cell. Okay, so here you will see, you can say this is the hydrogen cartridge. This one is hydrogen cartridge. So now you don't need to recharge this because this is not a battery, so you don't need to recharge it. Okay, so what you have to do is you will simply place this hydrogen cartridge over here, and the fuel cell inside here will receive fuel from the hydrogen and will give the electricity. Okay, so that's the major advantage of this device, that it doesn't need recharging. Okay, so you simply add the hydrogen cartridge and then it's ready to produce electricity. However, the problem is the size, because you can see the battery is also there inside the mobile, right? Because of the fuel cell is very big, it cannot replace the battery which is there inside the mobile. Okay, maybe in the future when the size of the fuel cell will decrease, maybe the fuel cell will be able to replace the battery completely. But with the current status, you can definitely use it as a power bank. Okay, and which is commercially available. In fact, I have this device with me and I use this. Okay, so let me show the demo here. So that's the hydrogen cartridge actually. Okay, and then the stationary or non-grid power. So for the stationary power also, like you can see on the left. So stationary means so you're not taking the energy from the grid. Okay, so that's the non-grid power. So I show you have two devices. One is there's the pure cell system by Doosan Fuel Cell USA. Okay, so I'll just show you the video for this.
Today's world is facing rising energy costs, a power grid stretched to its limits, and the threat of global warming. These realities have forced us to look for alternatives, to think smarter, differently, more responsibly. UTC Power is solving these problems today by providing clean, quiet, on-site power systems that save you money and keep your business running in the event of a power outage. UTC Power's Pure Cell system uses a proven fuel cell technology to deliver energy savings and power continuity while also reducing your environmental footprint. The Pure Cell system is a continuous power source for your hospital, hotel, supermarket, educational institution, or data center. The Pure Cell system produces power as well as heating and cooling for your building.
Okay, so remember, so the application of fuel cell is very widespread. You can use it for it can be used for automotive application, for the portable application, as well as for the stationary power source. Now, if you look at the fuel cell activities which are going in and around India. So I just have some cutouts of the news which shows that now the activities in the fuel cell commercialization is starting in India. However, if you look at the across the globe, you'll see the USA is quite ahead. In fact, in particularly in the northern part in the USA, particularly along the California side, the automotive, the fuel cell cars are available. Okay, as well as you have the fuel cell gas station, because fuel cell runs on the hydrogen, so you need the hydrogen refilling stations, and those refilling stations are there in the USA. In many European countries, particularly in Germany, okay, that they are well ahead in the fuel cell commercialization. In UAE also, okay, in Dubai, we have the this fuel cell vehicles are available, and the government is putting effort to put more and more hydrogen refueling stations. Now, but if you look at in India, so the efforts are just started. Now, if you look at this news cutout, okay, which is July 14, 2020. Okay, so just maybe 1.5 months ago. So it says that the Ministry of Road Transport and Highway, they recently issued a notification proposing to amend the Central Motor Vehicle Rules 1989 and include standards for safety evaluation for vehicles that use hydrogen fuel cell technology. Okay, so now the government is putting effort to amend the regulation so that it opens the door for the fuel cell manufacturer, fuel cell automotive manufacturers. Okay, the news cutout on the downside, you will see this is from 1st May 2020. So NTPC Limited is inviting global expression of interest to develop hydrogen fuel cell based the electric vehicles in India. Okay, so you will see the 10 hydrogen based electric buses and cars will be deployed in Delhi and the northern city of Leh. Okay, the project is first of its kind in country, looking to decarbonize the transportation sector, supported by the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. Okay, the initiative will see through the development of hydrogen storage and dispensing facilities in Leh and Delhi. Another news cutout from 21st May 2020. So the Indian Oil bets on hydrogen vehicle for self-reliant future mobility. Okay, so the Indian Oil, which is the nation's largest refiner and fossil fuel retailer, wants to keep itself relevant to motorize in the future. Okay, should vehicles shift away from polluting fossil fuel under the combined pressure of climate change obligations and technological innovations? So in the last few years, it has experimented with the building charging station for battery electrical vehicle. It is now embarking on rupees 300 crore demonstration project for hydrogen fuel cell vehicle. Okay, so there are a lot of investment which is now being initiated. Okay, in India. Now, if you look at the major the automobile manufacturers in India, so they are like Tata and the Mahindra. So I think the Tata came up with the fuel cell bus, okay, way back in 2018, okay, which is the first ever the hydrogen fuel cell powered bus, okay, by Tata Motors. Now they are doing more research on it, okay, so to make more acceptable in the commercial market. Okay, so that's going on, and they are doing with the collaboration with the Indian Oil Corporation Limited as well as ISO. Okay, with the support of the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy as well as the DST. Okay, so a lot of collaboration is there, and in India, the various companies, they are trying to put more and more products coming in the market. Even if you look at the Mahindra & Mahindra, they have also started some research in the fuel cell segment. There are 2 hydrogen refueling stations in India as well. Okay, so like you'll see one is there in the Faridabad at the Indian Oil R&D Center. One is there in the Gurugram at the National Institute of Solar Energy. Okay, so these are mainly built for those demo buses, because in India right now, those are not commercially available. Okay, so it's growing now. There are many companies, okay, who actually sells product on the fuel cell as well as the commercial product as well as the research product. Okay, for example, for research, if you need catalyst material, if you need membrane, or if you need the bipolar plates, so they sell it separately, as well as if you need the stack, fuel cell stack. So they have these. So for example, we have the Synergy Fuel Cell India Private Limited in Chennai. Okay, so they are the big companies. In fact, my collaborator as well. Okay, so I buy many fuel cell research component from this company. Then this Nishal Group in Mumbai. Okay, so they also sell many commercial products for the fuel cell. Inksman Energy and Fuel Cell Research Organization Private Limited in Chennai. Sinsil International is there in Mumbai. Then there's the very big name, the Bloom Energy. Bloom Energy India Private Limited, Mumbai. Actually, Bloom Energy is the US-based company. This is one of the leading company in the world for the manufacturing of the fuel cell. And its founder is Indian actually, and now they have started their Indian branch as well in the Mumbai. Okay, then one more is this Neutronics International LLP in the Mumbai. So there are a lot of companies. Okay, now the number is increasing now, and you'll see that a lot of companies are coming in to sell commercial product as well as the research-based products. Let's say now if you want to have the information, the latest updates regarding the fuel cell market and the fuel cell activity. So I will suggest you this site, okay, which is the site of the Fuel Cell and Hydrogen Energy Association. Okay, so now we go. Okay, if you go to this website, you will see, there are different tabs. You can explore through it, and you'll see the newsroom, you'll see the press release, the newsletter. So the newsletter comes every month. Okay, so you can just try to explore what's going on throughout the world. Okay. Okay, through this newsletter, you can explore this information. Okay, what's going on throughout the world regarding the fuel cell and the hydrogen research. If you particularly talk about in the Indian context, so in India, let's say. Okay, so yeah, so there is one new newsletter which was specifically focused on the fuel cell activities in India, June 22nd, 2020, the fuel cell and hydrogen developments in India. Okay, so you can just go through it. You can see, what are the fundings coming in. So you will see the main player is the MNRE, okay, who is funding a lot of projects over there. The partners are, let's say, the NTPC, ISRO is there. Okay, so the FOD is there. So you can go through these tabs, okay, later on if you are interested. All right. Now, if you look at the fuel cell research in India, so mostly the IITs, okay, they are involved in the fuel cell research. Particularly, I will name the Energy Science and Engineering Department of IIT Bombay, then the Center of Energy of IIT Guwahati is there, IIT Delhi, particularly the Chemical Engineering Department in IIT Delhi. Okay, then we have some specific fuel cell research center set up by Government of India, like Center of Fuel Cell Technology, okay, which is by ARC in Chennai. Then we have the CSIR lab, which is Central Electrochemical Research Institute in Karaikuri, which is in Tamil Nadu. They mainly work on the PEM fuel cell, and they are on the catalyst development side, membrane development side. Then the other one is the CSIR Central Glass and Ceramic Research Institute in Kolkata. Okay, so they mainly work on the high temperature fuel cells. And the main funding agency for them is this MNRE, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. Fuel cell activities in UAE, I think the UAE is well ahead in compared to the fuel cell activity compared to India. So you will see there are three commercial the hydrogen filling stations are available. Actually, the Dubai taxi, there are the lot of Dubai taxis. They use the Toyota Mirai as their in their taxi fleet. So you'll see that a lot of fuel cell cars on road also. And the Dubai government is also putting up efforts to install more and more hydrogen stations, as well as more and more hydrogen producing facility, hydrogen production facilities. Okay, so after this, I will just go through briefly to the different fuel cell types. Okay, so the fuel cell is majorly categorized in 5 types. Like the first one is polymer electrolyte membrane fuel cell. The second is the phosphoric acid fuel cell. The third is alkaline fuel cell. Fourth, molten carbonate fuel cell, and fifth is solid oxalate fuel cell. Now, all these are fuel cells. What is the difference between these? So the difference is in the electrolyte they use. So all these 5 fuel cells, they use different electrolyte. Okay, so here in the table, you can see the material of the electrolyte. Okay, remember the electrolyte is a material which allows the ion transport and restricts the electron transport. So like in the PEM fuel cell, normally we use this perfluorosulfonic acid membrane. Okay, there is a PFC, phosphoric acid fuel cell, a different electrolyte is there. So in all these 5 fuel cells, they use, because they use different electrolytes. Okay, and that's why they are being operated at different temperatures. Okay, remember these electrode material, the electrolyte materials become conductive, the ion conductive at different temperatures. That's why a particular fuel cell can be operated only at a particular temperature. Okay, for example, the PEM fuel cell, which is mostly used for automotive application, the operating temperature is 30 degrees Celsius to 100 degrees Celsius. Okay, then you'll see some intermediate range temperature fuel cell like the PAFC operates between 160 to 220, AFC operates between 60 to 250. All right, and these two are high temperature fuel cell. So molten carbonate fuel cell operates at 600 to 800 degrees Celsius. Okay, it's high temperature. Solid oxide fuel cell, so they are being operated at 600 to 1000 degrees Celsius. Okay, so we have some low temperature fuel cell like PEM fuel cell, as well as the AFC, alkaline fuel cell. Then we have some medium temperature fuel cell like PAFC, and then we have some high temperature fuel cell, which is MCFC and SOFC. So what are the comparison? Like if you look at the relative comparison between this low temperature fuel cell and high temperature fuel cell, so there are certain advantages and disadvantages. So if you use low temperature fuel cell, so the advantage is a rapid startup, right? Because in the high temperature fuel cell, first, in order to operate the fuel cell, you have to heat it up. So it means you have to install some external electrical heater or some other heater, so that first of all, its temperature will go up to the operating temperature. Then only the fuel cell will start running. Okay, but in case of low temperature fuel cell, because you can operate at low temperature, so the startup will be quite rapidly. Okay, so in fact, that's why these low temperature fuel cells are mainly suited for automotive application as well as for the portable electronic devices. Okay, another advantage is high efficiency. Okay, however, they are at low temperature, but efficiency will be higher. Disadvantage is they use expensive catalyst, mainly platinum. So the low temperature fuel cell, they use mainly platinum. On the other hand, if the high temperature fuel cell, so the disadvantage will be long startup time. Okay, efficiency will be lower, and the advantage will be, first of all, the inexpensive catalyst. Okay, now in the SOFC and the MCFC, you don't need to use platinum. Okay, you can use nickel, which is quite cheaper as compared to platinum. Okay, or some ceramic material. Okay, so in high temperature fuel cell, because the reason is the high temperature also acts as catalyst. Okay, because the function of catalyst is to help to break the bonds, and that can be possible with the high temperature also. So that's why if you are using high temperature fuel cell, so the the potential of the catalyst, you can use a low potential catalyst. So instead of platinum, you can use a nickel or the ceramic. Okay, so the cost of the fuel cell will be quite low. Also, this will generate high quality waste heat. Now, if you're aware about the exergy concept, so you know that the quality of energy is defined by the exergy. Okay, and exergy is something. So if you have energy which is available at the high temperature, so it's exergy. Okay, which represents the maximum work output possible from certain energy will be quite high. So in case of solid, the high temperature fuel cell, you can generate the high quality waste heat, which you can use for some other application. Okay, for example, some direct heating purpose, or you can run some gas turbine also coupled with this fuel cells. So those things are there. So the details are there, okay, but I won't go in that detail. Just remember that the main difference between all these fuel cell is the nature of electrolyte and the temperature at which they operate. Okay, so that's why the 5 main fuel cell, they operate at different temperature, low temperature as well as a very high temperature. Okay, and separately I will just, there are a lot of commercial products available in all fuel cell. Mostly the solid oxide fuel cell is mostly used for the non-grid power application, whereas the low temperature fuel cell like PAM fuel cell, etc., they are being used for low temperature application like automotive application or the portable applications. Okay, I'll just mention one more fuel cell, which is the biological fuel cell, which is the latest one. So in biological fuel cell, instead of using metal catalyst, the fuel cell use the living microorganism like bacteria, because there are some bacteria which can actually consume the fuel like sugar and all, and they can produce electron. So you can use those bacteria in place of the catalyst. So in biological fuel cell, you can have the anode made of the living microorganism or bacteria. The electrolyte, you can use the proton conducting material, and cathode with the platinum. And the fuel that you can use is some lower alcohol like methanol or simple glucose. Okay, cathode will be filled with oxygen or air, and then you see this reaction. Okay, so you can see this microorganism will this upon this anaerobic condition, this microorganism will oxidize this sugar, okay, and will produce protons, electrons, and carbon dioxide. Then again the same thing, the proton will pass through this electrolyte, and the electron will pass through the external circuit. On cathode side, you're supplying oxygen, so which will be reacted with proton and electron and produce water. But because this one is the newest fuel cell available, and this is in the research stage. Okay, so right now it cannot produce a high amount of current. Okay, the amount of current produced is very low, but the application is very attractive. Okay, because you're not using the expensive platinum catalyst material. Okay, and also this kind of fuel cell can be used for wastewater treatment. Okay, so let's say if you have a wastewater, so in the wastewater side, if you install the biological fuel cell, so you will get first the clean water as well as the electricity, and that's the the most attractive point from this fuel cell, and a lot of research going on in this direction. So one more fuel cell which I actually work upon is the direct liquid fuel cell. So as I mentioned earlier that the mainly used fuel in the fuel cell is hydrogen. And why do we use hydrogen? Because of the simple reason that the bond in the hydrogen, if you have a hydrogen molecule, so you'll have a very weak bond between 2 hydrogen atoms, and that weak bond is easily breakable with the help of catalyst. If you use any complex compound, let's say gasoline and all, so that those bonds will not be breakable with the help of catalyst. That's why those fuel cannot be used in fuel cell. Okay, so if you want to have a fuel for fuel cell, the first requirement is there should be a weak bond available which can be breakable with the help of catalyst, so that you can get the free electrons and the protons available. But the disadvantage of the hydrogen, as I mentioned, its volumetric energy density is very less. So that's why the people think of using liquid fuels, because if you're using a liquid fuel, obviously its volumetric density will be the energy density will be high. However, there will be some compromise, because let's say if you're using methanol or ethanol, because it's a liquid fuel, its volumetric energy density will be high, but that weak bond we are talking about, so it is having weak bond, but that's not as weak as hydrogen. Okay, relatively stronger. So you have a relatively poor electrochemical activity, but still you have a liquid fuel which is going to give you a facility in terms of storage. So that's why people thought of using liquid fuel, and that particular, the fuel cell which uses liquid fuel is known as direct liquid fuel cell. Okay, so there are a lot of probable fuel. People are trying different fuel, like methanol is there, ethanol, formic acid, borohydride. Okay, so there are a lot of fuel people are trying to explore. Methanol is the most strongest candidate. So the liquid fuel cell which uses methanol is known as the direct methanol fuel cell. Okay, so this is the fuel cell which actually I work on. So, but I won't go in that detail. Okay, about this thing. I'll just briefly talk about the fuel cell performance. Okay, so how you can measure the fuel cell performance. So there are various the testing approach. The most important is known as the polarization curve or current voltage characteristic curve. So what we do in this case, we try to plot a graph between x-axis is the current density and y-axis is the fuel cell voltage. Okay, so this current density is nothing but is the current drawn from the fuel cell, and the voltage is the what will be the voltage of fuel cell at that particular current value. So in order to do that, you look at this setup here. Okay, so this setup has this is your fuel cell. Okay, and this has some, so this is your power source, fuel cell power source here. Okay, then you have resistance over here, the external load. Okay, then you have the voltmeter, then you have the ammeter. So this is to measure current, this is to measure voltage. Now what you do is, first of all, at the starting point, let's say the fuel cell is not producing any current, so the current value is 0. Okay, so this axis, which is for current density, 0. At this point, you will measure the voltage, which will give you the highest voltage, and then you reduce this resistance. You keep on decreasing this resistance value. Okay, so what will happen? The current will increase. Current drawn from this fuel cell will increase, and you will see from the experiment that the voltage is decreasing. Now, why the voltage decreases, and those things. So for this, you have to take a proper course on the fuel cell. Okay, that comes in the analysis. So you keep on increasing the current from the fuel cell, and you will see the voltage keep on decreasing. So you will get this, a fixed shape curve, and this curve is known as polarization curve. Okay, which is the most basic method of testing any fuel cell. However, this particular curve, gives a lot of information, but due to time constraint, I won't be able to describe those things. This particular curve talks about the various losses occurring in the fuel cell, and let's say if you come up with some new design, so you can see whether your design is improving the performance of the fuel cell, or what is the impact of that design. So these are the U. So I won't go in that detail, but you have any if you want to take up the research in the fuel cell, or if you want to build your career in the fuel cell direction, so then you have to take up a proper course in the fuel cell. So this is all about the fuel cell. So I'll stop with this, and thank you for attending the workshop. Thank you for giving me the time. Let me know if you have any question.
Thank you, sir. There are some questions in chat box. Should I read for you?
You can, or let me see if I do.
Or you can just stop sharing this window.
Yeah,
And you can.
I will just stop share. Okay, so I think the question. Okay, life of a typical fuel cell. One is from Prasad, is talking about the life of a typical fuel cell. So remember that it depends on the type of the fuel cell. But now, because you can see the fuel cell is commercially being used in the automotive application as well. So now the life has improved quite a lot. Okay, now I think you can easily use it for 10 plus years. Okay, that's easily gettable, and there are a lot of research going on to improve the lifespan more and more. So the second question is from Ravindra. How can we enhance the life of fuel cell, or on which factor the research is going to do so? All right, that's a good question actually. So as I mentioned, the cause of lower lifetime is mainly the degradation process. Now the degradation of all the components, particularly the catalyst and the membrane. So the research focuses on the cause of degradation. Okay, why the degradation is happening? What is the degradation mechanism? Okay, because if I'll explain you briefly, there are many different causes. Like we name it as chemical degradation, mechanical degradation. Chemical degradation is because of the chemicals that we are using. Mechanical degradation of because of the load cycling. Thermal degradation is because of the thermal cycling. Okay, so you have to analyze, those cause, and then only you'll be able to identify that how to, the eliminate those degradation factors. Okay, then the third is from Akash, I think, is can fuel cell has explosion problem due to changing environment condition as happened with earlier mobile phone battery? Okay, so I understand this question because the fuel cell uses hydrogen. Okay, but I think the current the status of research. So we have the hydrogen storage design, particularly the metal hydrides and those things, which doesn't show any explosion issue. Okay, so fuel cell itself doesn't explode. If there will be explosion, that will be from the hydrogen side. Okay, but right now the state of the art, this hydrogen facility that we have. Okay, so I have never came across any such issue that there is a hydrogen explosion or something else. Okay, so I think that issue is not there. So then next is from Sanjay, that how to find performance of fuel cell. So there are a lot of testing. So that depends what actually you want, which area are you working on. Okay, if you are working on degradation side, so then you look into the electrochemical impedance spectroscopy, then the linear sweep voltammetry. But as I mentioned, the basic testing or the initial testing is the polarization test or the IV curve. Okay, then the next question is from Yogesh, that what is the phase of H2? Is it in the gas or liquid while using the fuel cell? See, so that depends on your what kind of storage you have. Remember, so if you want to use liquid hydrogen, you have to compress it, isn't it? It should be compressed, and so it needs very high compression for compressing and converting into liquid. Okay, so and in that case, you have to have a very robust design of your storage tank because it should be operated at very high pressure. Okay, so normally the hydrogen storage tank that is uses gaseous hydrogen at very high pressure, but that's not the liquid hydrogen. Okay, because for liquid hydrogen you need far more higher pressure. Then this sub question in that side is there any effect of concentration of electrolyte on efficiency of fuel cell? Yes, it has. Okay, but the H2SO4 as an electrolyte was used in the earlier design. So it definitely has, if you try to analyze the concentration, it definitely affects the fuel cell performance. But nowadays, the liquid electrolytes are not used because of the liquid management issue and those things. Now we have the solid electrolyte. So that's a different construction. Then next question is from Sanjay that how to find emission from fuel cell. Well, if you are using hydrogen, the only emission you will get is the water, but nothing else. However, let's say if you are using solid oxide fuel cell, which is high temperature fuel cell, it has fuel flexibility. Okay, so you can use natural gas or some other fuel as well. So in that case, see if you are using, so this is simply a combustion reaction. If you are using hydrogen, so the combustion reaction will give you water. Okay, if you are using alcohol, so now because methanol or ethanol, so because they have carbon particle as well, okay, carbon atom as well. Now the carbon upon combustion will give you carbon dioxide. Okay, so if you are using hydrocarbon fuel, you will get water as well as carbon dioxide as emission. Okay, if you are using pure hydrogen, you'll only get water. All right, then the Amit, next question is how to find the thrust area or problem statement to work in the field of fuel cell or other than recent journals. Well, I think the recent journal is the best place. Like I can suggest some journals. You can have the Journal of Power Sources, which is the best journal on the fuel cell research. Other than that, you can have the International Journal of Hydrogen Energy. Both are from Elsevier. Then from Springer, you have Ionics is there. From Relay, there is journal name as Fuel Cell. Okay, so these are the journals to try to look into the latest research. Apart from that, you know, the private companies, they also do a lot of research in the fuel cell, but normally they don't reveal what they are doing. So unless until you have a proper channel or you have some connection over there, it's difficult to identify, you know, to know what exactly they are doing. Okay, then the Saurabh, if you compress fuel cell, how much pressure it can sustain? Okay, so remember, you are not compressing fuel cell. Okay, you are compressing the fuel, which is hydrogen. Okay, so you can see it in this way that you have a hydrogen storage tank where you have the compressed hydrogen, and then you have a separate fuel cell. And that compressed hydrogen is connected with the fuel cell through some pipelines, and you know that will supply the hydrogen to that fuel cell for the work. Okay, so then next question is about production cost, storage, and safety for hydrogen. Production costs. So as I told you, you know, there are a lot of companies who supply the commercial product as well as the research components. So you can be in touch with those companies. But in general, the cost is slightly on the higher side. For example, that mobile power bank, fuel cell power bank that I talk about, it costs around 11,000 rupees. Okay, that's the cost. Now if you talk about the fuel cell stack, now let's say if you want to have a 1 kilowatt fuel cell stack, so that will cost around maybe around 2 to 3 lakh of rupees. Okay, that's just rough estimation. So detailed costs are available, you know, in many of the those companies I can share. Okay, so you can just check with them the exact cost. So anything else? I think I'm done with the questions. Please let me know if you have any other questions. Yeah, so I think there's one more question that, so there's a lot of research going on the hydrogen fuel cell, but why it has not gone mainstream? That's correct. Okay, so the reason is, see, the research is going on the fuel cell, that's correct, but there's a lot of research going on its competitive techniques like battery. Okay, now the Tesla, if you look, if you know about the Tesla, so Tesla mainly use, I mean, there are battery powered cars are also available in the market. All right, so it's not like that the research is only on the fuel cell, it's on the battery also. Okay, it's on the engine also, the conventional engine. And right now, the research status of the fuel cell that we have, the fuel cell is little behind as compared to the battery. Okay, because of the cost issue, and because that's going to use platinum, and we don't have any better substitute than platinum, despite a lot of research, and the durability issue. However, the most attractive option, the fuel cell, why still a lot of research is going on? Because of the most attractive feature for the fuel cell is it uses hydrogen. Okay, it uses hydrogen, and hydrogen is seen as the sustainable fuel. Okay, however, there are a lot of research going on in using hydrogen as a fuel in conventional engine as well. Okay, that's a separate stream. So there are a lot of researchers. They have different kind of thought. There are someone who believes in fuel cell. There are someone who believes in batteries. And there are some who still believe that the engines are the best. So there are a lot of research in all the areas. The issue with the worst issue with the battery is that it's quite polluting first, and battery is always energy storage. It's not energy generator. So if you're using any device using battery, be it automotive application or for portable device, you have to recharge it. Okay, you recharge it. Whereas if you're using fuel cell, so as long as you can supply fuel, that's going to give you power. Okay, so there's no need of grid recharging and all. So those are some important features from the fuel cell which makes it more attractive compared to the battery. Okay, so is there anything else I can help you? Yeah, I think there is one comment with fuel cell and solar cell that the solar power is cheap. Yeah, that's true. That's true actually. Okay, the solar power is cheap. But the problem with the solar cell is that you have to have a battery. If you are using any solar system, okay, now to store that power, okay, you have to have a battery. So I mean, I'm not saying the fuel cell is best. Okay, what I'm trying to say is the fuel cell is among the other technologies available. And based on the application, what application you need, for what application you need a power device, or by looking at what are the features, advantage, disadvantage, you can choose what power source you want. Okay, obviously the solar technology are doing great right now. Okay, there are a lot of investment from the government, a lot of commercial products are available. Okay, so that is great. Okay, can you comment on mileage of vehicle running on fuel cell? Okay, so mileage of the fuel cell, I can give you one example. I think the Honda Clarity. So on one refueling of hydrogen, it goes around I think 600 to 700 kilometers. Okay, that's the running distance. The exact mileage, so that depends actually at what pressure you are using hydrogen. I think I don't have the exact, the numerical value for that, the exact mileage, but definitely you can Google it. If you Google, you will get your answer.
Sir, I think we have covered all aspect of your session. Again, in question answer also. So,
Yeah, okay, sir.
Sir, can we conclude this session?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So for participants, I have shared one link for feedback of this session. Kindly give your feedback on that link. And I would like to request Professor Suryavanshi to conclude this session with vote of thanks. Suryavanshi, sir.
Yes, Dr. Sir. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Naveen. Thank you very much for such a nice session. On behalf of Department of Mechanical Engineering of MUP Samajas KBT College of Engineering, Nashik, I take this opportunity to thank our today's speaker, Dr. Naveen Kumar Srivastava, for his experience, for sharing his experience of research in the fuel cell technology, which is an advanced technology in the field of renewable energy. Definitely, our participants have got the insights of fuel cell technology, the basic working of fuel cell, as well as the current scenario of fuel cell in India also. And sir has nicely explained all the information about the fuel cell, okay, about its research going on in our country also. Thank you, sir. I thank
Thank you very much, sir.
to our management of MVP Samaj. I also thank our principal and education officer, Dr. N.S. Patil sir, our vice principal, Professor N.B. Desle sir, and our HOD, Dr. V.C. Shevale sir, for their valuable guidance and support in this FDP. I thank to Professor R.S. Thakre for the technical support during this session. Last but not least, I thank to all the participants who have asked very nice questions during the session, so that all the doubts of our participants have been cleared, and sir has answered to all the questions nicely. Thank you. Please go on the feedback link which is posted in the chat box and give your valuable feedback to us. With this, I would like to conclude today's